career speaks for itself. His legacy is among the best we'll ever have. For his final game against the Texas Rangers, the only thing left is to say thank you for making our game better. Texas Rangers baseball is presented by AT&T Viewers TV. Well, a near-capacity crowd filing into Globe Live Park tonight. The ceremony prior to the ball game, Derek Jeter honored in his last appearance here at Globe Live Park. The Rangers will try to send him out with a memorable defeat. It's the Rangers and Yankees coming up. And welcome in, everyone. Along with Tom Greaves, Steve Busby. Glad you joined us for this Wednesday night of Rangers baseball. It's been quite an evening for Derek Jeter as he is getting a send-off for the Rangers. A couple of his very good friends and opponents over the years bidding him farewell. But, Tom, it's been quite a career for the Yankee captain.
It really has, Buzz. When you think of all the great Yankee players, all the numbers that have been retired, and then you think of Derek Jeter, he's going to retire as one of the most beloved of all Yankees. And that's saying a lot when you think of all the Yankees who you could say the same thing about. He will retire as the all-time leader in games, at-bats, hits, and doubles, and 5 world championships under his belt. It's been a tremendous career. He has been, as they say, a class act. And we're lucky that we get a chance to see these last games here in Texas.
That we are. And Derek Jeter has played longer in Yankee pinstripes than any other player in their storied franchise history. But Kobe Lewis and the Rangers tonight will try and send Derek Jeter off with a loss in the final game here. We'll have the starting lineup for the first pitch coming up right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. the Ford Summer Spectacular Sales Event, now playing at a Ford dealer near you. By AT&T U-verse TV. Find out what's possible with AT&T. Call 1-800-PIC-ATT, mobilizing your world. And by Southwest Airlines. Find Southwest Airlines fares online only at southwest.com. There's a beautiful, nearly cloud-free sky overhead as Colby Lewis begins to take his warm-up tosses before we get things underway here tonight. Let's head down to the field, and Emily Jones is standing by him.
Well, Buzz, as you know, there are very few players in the game of baseball that warrant the send-off that Derek Jeter has received here tonight and will receive throughout the rest of the season as he makes his various final stops at major league cities across the country. And his greatness and his legacy, both on the New York Yankees and the game of baseball, is not lost on any of the fans here tonight or the competitors who he's gone up against over the years.
He's a guy that he earned it. A lot of people doesn't realize how good it is as a player and what he meant for a team. I never get the chance to play with him in the same team, but what you hear from his teammates now in the past is the same. I haven't heard anything negative about that guy, and for me, it's a blessing for me to be able to play against and actually talk to him.
And when you have a guy who's enjoyed a 20-year major league career, you look at the impact he's had on guys like Elvis Andrus and so many who grew up watching him and then got to play alongside and against him. A very special night for a lot of people, guys.
You are right about that, Em. Thank you very much. Good stuff. And it's quite an honor to be able to watch Derek Jeter, especially in his final year, going out the way he's going out, too. Take a look at the Yankee lineup that surrounds Derek Jeter tonight. Brett Gardner, the left hitter, leads off. Then it's the captain, the shortstop. Jacoby Ellsbury in center. Mark Teixeira is at first. Carlos Beltran, the DH, bats fifth. Chase Headley is at third. Francisco Cervelli catching. Doyle Armonte is in right field. Brendan Ryan bats ninth, plays second base tonight. Gardner getting set to lead things off against the veteran right-hander, 34-year-old Colby Lewis. Gardner, well, he is having some kind of a series against the Rangers here. And that first pitch is all the way to the backstop. Brett Gardner, a 3-game hitting streak, but he went 4 for 5 here last night. He went 3 for 5 on Monday. Had 3 home runs. Guy out of the leadoff spot doing all that. He is still leading all leadoff men in RBI.
Oh, take a look at the scouting report brought to us by Sonic for Colby Lewis. 6-8 is his record. He's had 18 starts. He's allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in 4 of his last 5 starts. One of his better starts was last Thursday in New York. 4 hits, 3 runs, and 6 1/3. Pitched a nice ball game that day in Yankee Stadium, trying to come right back and face the Yankees again and have the same kind of performance.
Yeah, that was the first time that Colby had faced the Yankees in the regular season. It's back in 2003, but he didn't miss a beat. Well, he went out and pitched very, very well. Unfortunately, Rangers kind of kept down on the offensive side of things. 2-2, the count to Gardner. That's out of play to the left.
And coming into the season, the most home runs that Gardner had had in a year was 8. The 3 he's hit in this series give him 13 on the season. Pretty good.
Lewis back to the plate. And another pop foul. And back into the seats. Immediately, Colby Lewis having a long at bat against Brett Gardner. 7th pitch will be coming. Gardner with those 40 RBI from the leadoff spot. I mentioned that's the most in the American League. Lewis next pitch. That ball's hit high and deep down the right field line. If it's fair, it's gone. It is gone. Brett Gardner on a 2-2 pitch after fouling off 3 makes it a 1-0 Yankee lead.
He's hot. and he's hitting the ball hard. That ball almost went over the lower stands and into the concourse. It lacked about 2 rows from doing that right down the line. So it's not only a home run that he's hit, but a long one. The other day it went to dead center field. So he's a leadoff hitter, and he's not just scraping the back of the wall for a few little dinky home runs. He's hitting them like the big boys hit him.
Oh, just like that, New York out on top 1-0. Here is Derek Jeter. And what a great round of applause from the fans there at Globe Life Park. And Jeter didn't get a fastball that he was counting on from Colby Lewis. Strike 1 on the half swing. Jeter at 280 in his final year in the major leagues, his 20th overall. 2 home runs, 27 driven in. Up the middle, Lewis behind his back, and he picked Jeter clean.
That might have been a tough play for Elvis. It was hit right straight up the middle. I'll show you exactly what you were talking about, Buzz, when we see the replay of this play.
Colby, a little bit of magic. Yeah, nothing to it.
Well, he knew he couldn't turn around and catch it normally, so he said, I might as well stick my glove out just in case. And just in case ended up right in the middle of the glove.
You know, that might be something in Jeter's 20-year career that never happened until tonight.
Yeah, you never know.
I wouldn't swear to it, but
you never know. Let's put it this way. You don't see it very often.
No, Jeter retired, 1 away. And first ball swinging, Jacoby Ellsbury to left field, slicing back toward Jim Adducey, who makes the catch. That is out number 2. Let's go back to Brett Gardner's leadoff home run. By the way, his 5th leadoff home run.
Now, Colby's trying to get that ball a little bit more inside than that, probably. Gardner had seen a lot of fastballs in that at bat. He'd fouled several of them off. But he was ready for that one. Almost hit it over the seats and into the concourse.
371 feet right down the line, and that's a pretty good jolt. No, 2 outs. Here's Mark Teixeira. And the pitch outside for ball 1. Well, for Gardner, his 4th leadoff home run this year, and his 5th in his career. Well, he has just been a Ranger killer. Goes back to the game that he had against Yu Darvish, that rain-shortened game. A week ago Wednesday, or a week ago today, as a matter of fact, in New York.
And when you think that it went over the 349 sign, let's say 350 feet, and where it would have ended up, I'm thinking it's a little bit farther than 370.
Yeah, I agree. 3-0 pitch. Teixeira takes outside, ball 4. Well, the Yankee first baseman on with a 4-pitch walk with 2 outs, and Carlos Beltran will come up.
Yankees rewarded Gardner with a nice contract extension. It was for maybe 4 years through 2018 or 19. So they're counting on him being one of the cornerstones of their franchise over the next 5 years as they try to remain a contender. A little bit older as a team. He's the kind of guy that they plan on being right in the middle of his prime for those 5 years.
The strike to Beltran. Yeah, it's a 4-year deal with a club option.
Club option?
For 2019. So.
Well, that looks like the way he's playing right now. That's money. When he signed that contract, he didn't have 13 home runs.
Yeah.
14 home runs. So he might be showing a little more power than they expected.
Now let's take a look at the Ranger defense. It's delivered to you tonight by Fred Loya Insurance. Adducey, Martin, and Rios left, center, and right. Aaron Sabia at first. Odor and Andrews up the middle. Beltre at third. Robinson Chirinos is catching for Colby Lewis. Pitch to Beltran is just outside, 2-1. Carlos Beltran, a .236 average. Dozen home runs, 37 RBI. Against Colby Lewis, 1 for 7 in his career. 1 on, 2 out. A run across for the Yankees. Base hit to right field. Teixeira had to wait a second. He's going to be at second. He's going to make the turn and go. Rios gets the ball back in, and first and third now for the Yankees. And Chase Headley will be next.
Batting sixth for third baseman, number 12, Chase Headley.
Probably years early in Beltran's career where he would have gone to second on that ball. at the stage of his career where he doesn't move like he used to. Hit that changeup pretty well, though.
Yes, he did. Almost got by Alex Rios out there. Hit so hard. 2 on now, 2 out. Chase Headley, a .333 average with the Yankees. He has been with them for a week and a day. Off speed, the breaking ball just nestles into the inside corner. 0-1. Headley, you look at his averages of his numbers with San Diego. Hitting just .229, but that doesn't tell you the story. It doesn't take into account how he has turned things around as he looks at strike 2. Headley, in the last 23 games, that goes back to the first day of July, a .326 average. He had been battling a lot of back problems that had kept him on the shelf a lot of last year and really struggled the last year and a half. But he's starting to turn things around now. The Yankees feel like they got somebody that could be a big boost for them going down the stretch.
Yeah, they'd love to see his power stroke return. He's had 1 year with the Padres a few years back where he put up big power numbers, home runs and RBIs. And you take the batting average, but love to see your third baseman return to those power days and jolt some balls out of the ballpark.
1-2 from Colby.
Sure. Whoa.
Robinson Chirinos was set to pack it in. So was Colby.
That must have been inside.
But Ed Hickok said, nope, that's not a strike.
That pitch is almost right down the middle of the plate.
Wow.
The umpires have a hard job. We nitpick on every little thing that we can find in the strike zone, but that ball was a strike.
2-2. Count goes full. So Headley trying to extend this first inning. He is the 6th hitter. To be followed by the catcher, Francisco Cervelli. Rangers defend Headley a step or so around to the right, both the infield and the outfield. Teixeira, the runner at third. Carlos Beltran at first. Beltran will be off and moving with this pitch. Chopper foul. Got Ron Washington on the left hand, it looked like. You know, that's not surprising considering how this year's gone. That the skipper would get hurt down there.
You know, speaking about hands, the other night Craig Gentry got hit in the hand.
Yeah.
And I made the remark, I can't believe that ball didn't hurt him. And he trotted to first base.
Yeah.
He's on the DL with
Right.
a broken hand now.
Yeah. Well, you were right.
It had to hurt him. He sure didn't act like it did.
Outside, ball 4, that'll load him up. That's expert analysis. I've heard hurt him. You don't need x-rays or anything like that. You say that had to hurt him. That would be something important.
Yeah. Well, that one pitch to Headley obviously should have been strike 3. It wasn't on the corner. It was right in the middle of the plate. And that cost a couple of pitches, and now another batter with the bases loaded right here.
And Mike Maddox going out there to make sure that Colby's focus. Yeah, you're going to be mad, and it probably will carry over at least to the next pitch. But now you've got to say, okay, that's nothing we can do about that.
Yep, exactly.
You've got to go out after Cervelli and keep the damage down to 1 run in this inning. And that was probably the message that Mike Maddox took out there with him.
Yep.
Even to a veteran like Colby, that can happen. Well, here's Cervelli with the bases full. Yankee catcher hitting .310, a home run and 6 driven in, and he has been a hot hitter since coming back off the disabled list. He's at .378 in his last 13 games. Colby misses off the outside corner for ball 1. Cervelli was on the disabled list from the middle of April, the 15th of April, until the middle of June. He had a pretty severe right hamstring strain, missed 55 games. 1-0 pitch on the inside corner. Cervelli didn't think so, but being the other catcher, you can't bark too much about it. Well, maybe you can bark about it. Tough start here for a few people.
Yeah. Zero in on that strike zone.
Breaking ball, low and outside, 2-1. Cervelli did not play last night. That was his first night off in about a week. He was 1 for 4 in Monday night's game. Rangers winning that game behind Yu Darvish. 2-1 the count. Bases full of Yankees. Ground ball to Elvis. He go the short way, a high throw, but Rubin able to keep his toe on the bag. Side retire. Brett Gardner leadoff home run is all the Yankees get. They leave the bases full. After half inning, New York 1, Texas coming up. Consecutive better than 40,000 crowd. Here's the Southwest Airlines Texas Rangers starting lineup tonight. The DH is Shin-Soo Choo, Elvis Andrus in short, Alex Rios in right. Adrian Beltre bats cleanup, plays third base. Jim Adducci is in left. JP Arancibia, a huge night last night, is at first base. Leonis Martin in center. Robinson Chirinos is catching. And batting ninth, the second baseman, Rougned Odor.
Sonic scouting report for Hiroki Kuroda. 21 starts this year, a winning record. He started out slow. He's been pitching much better lately. Excellent control, less than 2 walks per 9 innings. Last 3 starts against the Rangers been pretty good. He's 2-0, an ERA under 1. Opponents, the Rangers, hitting .169 against him in those 3 starts. Sneaky fastball, pretty good splitter, slider, and obviously good control.
Yep, doesn't walk many people, as that 1.82 per 9 innings would tell you. Spent 4 years with the Dodgers when he first came over to the States. Now in his 3rd year with the Yankees. Here is Choo, and the first pitch to him is ball 1. Shin-Soo, a .240 average, 9 home runs, 34 driven in. 2 for 7 off Kuroda. That sliced out of play down the left side. 1 ball, 1 strike. You get word from, and we'll keep you updated on these rehab assignments. Derek Holland tonight, his first rehab assignment, if you will, at Double-A Round Rock, Double-A Frisco. I want to give him to Round Rock real bad. Went an inning and a third. He walked 1, struck out 3, and threw a total of 22 pitches. And Shin-Soo Choo rifles 1 to left center field for a base hit.
Now there's a swing you'd like to see him stick with right there. If they're going to play the infield all the way around toward right field, go with that swing. Hit the ball back through the middle. Now that's a line drive. It probably didn't matter, but the point is he went with a pitch and drove it the other way. You see no one at shortstop. You can make them come back and play shortstop. You run a few ground balls through that area.
Well, the Rangers get their leadoff man aboard. Now here's Elvis. Andrus, a very good series against the Yankees. He's hitting .268 overall now. Kuroda, a high set, and throws that splitter, it looked like, in for strike one. Elvis 3 for 5 last night with a couple of runs driven in. And on this homestand, he's 8 for 18. That's a .444 mark. Also has, on the longer side of things, a 6-game hitting streak. A little bit low. A ball and a strike. Rangers, as far as hitting at home, at one time they were the best in the American League of the home average, but now they're back in the middle of the pack, hitting .255 coming into play here tonight. That's good for 7th. Hard hit by the dive of Headley down the left field line. Gardner over trying to cut it off. He slides to get it. Chu is being waved around third. He will score without a throw, and Elvis ties the ball game with an RBI double. It is 1-1.
Great start for the Rangers. 2 well-hit balls. Chu inside out at a line shot in the left center, and Elvis turned on a ball and hit it well. Got a fastball sinking on the inside part of the plate. Put a good swing on it. Hit it right past Headley into the corner. Elvis hit a couple of balls pretty well last night, especially that ball he hit to right center field. I'd love to see him for the last 2 months get hot and start driving the ball a little bit.
Back-to-back hits produced the tying run here in the first. Now Alex Rios up there with nobody out. And he takes that first pitch in for strike one.
Gardner blocked it to keep it from getting into the corner and bouncing around and maybe allowing Elvis to go to third, but nothing he could do was going to stop Chu from scoring on that play.
Breaking ball that time from Kuroda. It's 0-2 now. Alex at .305, 4 home runs, 43 RBI. And he's had good success against Kuroda over the years, 3 for 9. A check of Andrews. Kuroda. Another look back there. In the dirt. Nice stop by Francisco Cervelli. 1-2. Kuroda at 39 years of age. Didn't show much signs of slowing down. He's kept it going pretty well. Right-hander with that high set. And a chopper to the left side. Cut off by Headley, but it's in front of him, or I should say to the side of him. So Elvis able to go on to third in front of him. And even though Alex didn't hit the ball to the right side, he gets the job done as Elvis reads that ball well and advances to third. And let's take a look at the rest of the Yankee defense, brought to you by Progressive tonight. Gardner, Ellsbury, and Almonte left, center, and right. Teixeira at first. Ryan and Jeter up the middle. You saw Headley at third. Francisco Cervelli is catching, and Hiroki Kuroda is on the hill.
Yeah, there's good instincts by Elvis. You're pretty much told, man on second, you don't go if the ball's hit to the left side of the infield. And there probably are runners who would have just stayed there when they saw that ball hit to the left side of the infield. But Elvis sensed that he was going to get by Headley and there would be no one at third base anyway. So he was able to get over to third base. And now he can score in a lot of different ways with one out.
And the best RBI man the Rangers have, Adrian Beltre, trying to plate Elvis Andrus. Beltre at 57 RBI. He has not fared well, as those numbers would tell you, though, against Hiroki Kuroda. Just 2 for 18. 321 the average overall, and a demon in this ballpark. 2-1.
Kuroda started out first 6 starts of the year with a 5.14 ERA. In his last 15 starts, though, it's 3.56, and that's pretty much right about where his career ERA is, around the mid-3s. His ERA over here is actually better than it was in Japan. Came over here when he was around 30 or 31 years old.
Beltre, a base hit to center. Elvis trots down the line from third. steps on home plate. The Rangers have a 2-1 lead.
That's what you want. That's what Ron Washington or any manager wants to see. Get a man on second with no outs, move him over, get him in.
Well, Beltre with his 58th RBI of the year.
Well, the Rangers scored a bunch yesterday. Couldn't pull out a win, but they scored a bunch, and they're scoring right off the bat against a pitcher who's been very tough on them. We mentioned how he's pitched. He's 2-1 with a 1.23 ERA in 4 starts against the Rangers as a Yankee. It's been very difficult for the Rangers.
First pitch to Jim Adduci is high and outside for ball 1.
A lot of room to shoot for in the infield when they're in that far. They don't have much time to react, so if you hit it anywhere except right at them, you've got a pretty good chance to get a base hit. Kuroda's last start against the Rangers was about a year ago.
And Adduci going the other way. Lines one in for a base hit. Beltre stops at second. Rangers now with 4 hits in the inning. And 2 aboard with 1 out. And J.P. Arancibia coming up, but not before Larry Rothschild. He's going to head to the mound.
And that last start against the Rangers, 7 innings, 6 hits, no runs, 1 walk. Shut the Rangers out for 7 innings last year. And even though he's been pitching pretty well recently, not having much luck so far against the Rangers. They had some good at-bats against him. Ducey going the other way just like Shin-Soo Choo did. Hit the ball hard in the left field.
Well, 3 singles, a double, 2 runs across, 2 runners on, just 1 out. And the conference now concluded at the mound. And we'll take a look at the Ford leaderboard and the RBI leaders since the All-Star break. J.P. Arancibia with 7 last night. He tops the list now with 16. Cabrera 14. Big Papi with 13. Carlos Santana, who the Rangers will see on Friday night, with 13.
Yeah, 7 will kind of get you in the conversation no matter what else you've done.
Yeah.
But he's also hit 3 or 4 other home runs too.
Arancibia chopped foul at home plate. Now our AT&T U-verse rewind last night. Brandon McCarthy gives it up to right field. Dylan Betances gives it up to left field. That was a grand slam for Arancibia. 4 for 5. 2 doubles, 2 home runs, 7 runs driven in. Other than that, a quiet night. 0-1 here. And popped up. That will reach the seats. And run the count to 0-2.
Well,
the pre-break numbers as opposed to post-break for Arancibia. 133, a home run and 6 before the break. He was a lot better than that last night. He had 2 and 7 last night with a .250 average. 5 home runs since the All-Star break. Kuroda with the 0-2. Got him swinging. Or was it a foul ball? Yeah, foul ball. Nope. Strike 3.
nice try.
Somebody make a decision. And Pontiac Hickox did. Arancibia is gone. So 2 outs now, and Leonis Martin coming up. Leonis snapped a lengthy 0 for last night. He had a couple of hits in his last 2 at-bats. Snapped an 0 for 19 that he was mired in. You can almost see him trying to squeeze the sawdust out of the bat with each 0 for he took.
I saw it in the comments that Wash made after the game when he was asked about Leonis, and one of the things he said is he has to use the whole field. He can't try to pull the ball. He's not the kind of hitter that can be a pull hitter and be successful, and that's exactly right. He needs to start driving the ball to left center field. It'll make him a better hitter. Wait on the ball a little bit longer. Maybe have a little bit better bat control, not be quite as susceptible to swinging at pitches out of the strike zone, off-speed pitches. To have that approach, work on it. Extra batting practice, work on it in BP. so that you come out and drive the ball to left center field. It'll make him a better hitter.
A little tapper foul. It's 0-2. Yeah, and he's strong enough. He's a pretty strong young man, too. And you look at the spray chart, center and right accounting for the majority of the hits for Leonys Martin. If he starts like you're talking about, Tom, driving the ball left center, right center, he's strong enough that he's going to hit some home runs when he starts making consistently good contact.
Yeah, and those are where his hits go, but I think if you showed all the at-bats and showed all the outs, you'd see a lot more to right field than showed up.
Slowly down the first baseline, and Teixeira lets it go foul, and not foul by much. Now, Leona's flying by everybody, and instead of Teixeira getting to the ball early, picking it up and making the tag, he elected to let it roll.
Boy, that's very close.
Yep. And we've seen that ball a lot of times stay right on the dirt, right on the line, I should say, in this ballpark.
Boy, he waited and waited. That was fouled by about an inch.
No, still 0-2. Beltre at second, Adduci at first. Rangers have taken a 2-1 lead here in the bottom of inning number 1. And another topper foul. Oh, we mentioned Derek Holland before. He's finished now with his first rehab outing. 2 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, and 33 pitches. So Holland on his way back from the microfracture surgery, knee reconstruction.
Got to be feeling pretty good after that outing, I would think.
Yeah, I would
4
think
strikeouts.
So. Sure, he's just happy to get out of the exercise room and get out to compete. Another 0-2 pitch is coming, and another chopper foul. Leonis having that get a part of the foot that was not protected by that guard that he wears. Nothing in 2. Rangers have taken a 2-1 lead on 4 hits. RBI double by Elvis Andrus and RBI single by Adrian Beltre. Martin trying to cash in a couple more. Rookie Kuroda already forced to use 25 pitches, and number 26 is on the way. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Adduci, an opposite field single. That was right after Adrian Beltre's RBI base hit to center. Kuroda again looked back there and missed outside. 2-2.
No, both pitchers are control pitchers, and they're both throwing a lot of pitches in the first inning. This will be number 28 coming up for Kuroda.
Well, fortunately for the two of them, this is not an extremely hot night. 90 degrees at first pitch, but pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
Nice brisk wind blowing in from center field.
Might be hot in Boston, but not hot in Texas.
Loop to left field, down the line, dropping in a hurry, a fair ball. Beltre around third will score. Leonis Martin dumps one in, and Beltre scores to make it 3-1 Rangers.
Probably not a strike. In fact, it's about as far out of the strike zone as you can probably make contact with a ball and hit it fair. But he had great movement on the fastball. Two-seam fastball was tailing away from Leonis, but he still got the bat on it. Just kind of served it out down the line. Gardner's playing him pretty shallow and over that way. Not much he could do about the way that ball was placed.
So 5 hits here in the Ranger first inning. They lead 3-1. Here is Robinson Chirinos, who takes the high inside fastball for ball 1. Chirinos, a .228 average. 9 home runs, 29 driven in. He has fallen on hard times of late, just 1 for his last 16. You go back over the last 10 ball games, he's hitting under 100. Pitch from Kuroda is ball 2. That was the 30th pitch of this first inning for the Yankee veteran right-hander. Kuroda reading the signs from Cervelli. Rangers with Adduci at second, Martin at first. 2 outs, 3 across here in the first inning. And now Chirinos, tired of waiting, he backs out. Two and 0 the count. Oh, he had one that he would like to have back, I think. Fouled straight back. And the count moves to 2-1.
Yeah, that about 3 weeks ago might have been one he was driving into the gaps.
Yeah.
Not swinging the bat right now like he was a while back.
It's got to be frustrating sometimes for a hitter, I would think, Tom, that you know you're going to go through the ups and downs, but when you're in the middle of one of those downturns, it's got to be hard to keep your head on straight.
Yeah, the key is to minimize those downturns, and that's what the great hitters do. Their streaks, their good streaks last longer, and their short ones are much shorter than the rest of the average players. That's what makes them great hitters. They don't go into those kind of prolonged slumps. Take an 0 for 2 days in a row, and that's about it for those great hitters.
3-1 pitch. And a chopper out towards second. Ryan on to first. That will do it. But the Rangers send 8 men to the plate. 3 of them score. 2 are left on 5 hits. We're going to the second. Rangers 3, Yankees 1. Network, broadcasting to the U.S. Armed Forces, serving in 175 countries and aboard ships at sea. They're watching around the world in Iraq, Germany, Italy, Southwest Asia, South Korea, and Japan. Welcome to all of you, and thank you very much for your service. Folks are the ones that make all of this possible for us. Enjoying baseball here at Globe Life Park tonight. The Rangers with a 3-run lead, 3-1 lead, I should say, and Colby Lewis back to the hill now to face Zoilo Almonte, the number 8 hitter for the Yankees. First pitch to him is in for strike one. Almonte, a switch hitter. Just a 152 average, a home run and 3 driven in. Essentially playing until Carlos Beltran is ready to go back out defensively in the outfield. That may be another few weeks, though, judging from the slow progress that Beltran's had in his throwing program. Almonte, good numbers at AAA with 16 home runs and a 281 average this year. 0-2 pitch from Lewis. Colby, kind of a rocky first inning. A couple of walks after the leadoff home run by Brett Gardner. A base hit mixed in there. But able to keep the damage to a minimum as he got out of a bases loaded 2-out spot.
He was able to pitch and get Cervelli with the bases loaded to get out of that inning. Kuroda couldn't do that. Kuroda ended up having a hard time getting out of the inning and giving up a couple of more runs after the Rangers scored.
Well, Monte, just a check swing to get a little bit of a piece of that ball. And the count remains even at 2-2. Outfield playing Almonte several steps around to the left side. And that's the way he hits the ball, toward left, toward the line of Ducey. Up against the sidewall, and Jim comes down with it for the out. Oh, what an athletic play that was by Ducey.
That was a nice play. Not much room as the ball's slicing toward the wall. And he didn't have time to get there, stop, and reach up and catch it. He was pretty much going full speed. Had to go up against the wall just as the ball got there. Those are the hardest type of catches to make. It's easy if you're standing there and you can jump. But when you got to run into the wall and catch it, that's a little bit different story.
Tom, I think that's got my vote for the one tonight.
You think so?
Yeah.
I'll go along with that.
All right. I know it's early in the game, but that is the one from us.
If something else comes up to beat it and becomes the one after you declared that the one, no one's going to make fun of you. No one's going to ridicule that call.
I hope not.
I don't think they will. That looked like the one.
Brendan Ryan, a towering pop foul back into the seats. It is 0-1. So Jim Ducey, it all started with where he was positioned. He's playing toward the line against Almonte, and well, what a play that was.
A lot of times you'll see an outfielder go back to the wall.
And Beltre vacuums that up. 2 gone.
You go back to the wall on a high fly ball, wait at the wall. The ball will be over the fence. He'll jump as high as he can, reach over the fence and catch it. And, you know, it looks like a spectacular play. But really, for a big league outfielder, if he's standing there and jumping, it's a simple catch. Those are the hard catches where you're running, your eyes are moving, the ball is moving. You get to the wall, you know there's going to be a collision, and you're jumping and running and trying to catch it right as the ball gets there. Those are the ones that are hard. And you'll see a lot of outfielders shy away from the wall and not catch that ball.
Yep.
But you give it up like that and go into the wall, that's a beautiful catch.
Well, back to the top of the order now with 2 outs. The base is empty. Brett Gardner lined a 2-2 pitch deep to right field for the leadoff home run. Gardner now 14 home runs, 47 RBI for the year. And Colby missing outside, 2-0. Gardner's average at 285 as Colby comes back to him with a good knee-high strike. 2-1. And there is strike 2. Gardner with that home run in the first inning now has 9 hits in his last 12 times to the plate. I think that qualifies as being hot.
That's pretty hot. Got his average up over probably around 285 now.
Yeah. The 2-2. That'll run the count full. No, Gardner trying to get aboard here with 2 outs if he is able to. Derek Jeter, he is going to be next. Colby with a payoff pitch. Call strike 3. Gardner knew it. Soon as Hickok told him.
Can't take your helmet off and throw it and turn around and argue with the umpire.
Joe Girardi out there to get Brett Gardner away from Ed Hickox. 1-2-3 inning. Yankees are gone. And it is 3-1 Texas. Welcome in Jim Knox. Jim.
Oh, I appreciate it, Buzz. Big group of Ranger fans coming in from Oklahoma. Good to have you. And don't forget, in Community Corner, spend the next evening with a legend. That will be September 6th. You can spend the evening with Pudge Rodriguez, Texas Rangers Hall of Famer. It's an evening with the Rangers, special question and answer session, also a photo session. This will be September 6th. And to get tickets, to find out more, log on to TexasRangers.com/foundation. That's right. Let's go Rangers. Rangers.
Attaboy, Knox, and get him going out there.
There are 3 pretty good crowds against the Yankees.
Yeah.
Buzz just about a sellout tonight, it looks like, on Derek Jeter night.
Rougned Odor taking a strike, and it's 1-2. Yeah, almost 42,000 last night, 43 the night before. And it looks like this is the best crowd of them all. 1-2 to Odor. Pull to Teixeira, who will take it to the bag. He wins that race. Out number 1. Folks, it's time for you to tweet your photo for a chance to have it shown on one of our upcoming broadcasts. That's all thanks to the good folks at AT&T. Just use hashtag SouthwestFanPhoto, and your photo might be selected to be aired during the season. We will show you our selection for tonight a little bit later on. Back to the top of the Ranger order. Chu trying to bunt it, and he did, but right back to the mound. Easy play for Kuroda. That is out number 2. So Shinsu had a pretty good idea with the veteran Kuroda on the mound, but got it in the worst spot he possibly could. Chu trying to drop that down the third baseline and hooked it a little bit.
I was going to take a pretty good bunt. They were obviously had a little shift on, but Jeter was playing on the left side of the infield, a little bit in front of the bag. So even if he made a good bunt, it's going to still be tough for him to beat it out.
Elvis, who had the RBI double to get the Rangers scoring started in that first inning, takes strike 1. Andrews now with 28 driven in. Average at 270. And the count evens, and a ball and a strike. Elvis, a 7-game hitting streak alive now. He has gone 10 for 23 in that stand. And that is chop foul. The count moves to a ball and 2 strikes. Kuroda to the wind, the 1-2 pitch. And a chopper slowly hit down to third. Headley on the run, makes the throw, and that'll do it. A 9-pitch inning for Kuroda. Rangers gone in order after 2. Rangers leading 3-1, and stay with us. We'll have Michael Young in the booth when we come back right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Live Park. Derek Jeter fittingly starting off the top of the third. Is joining us in the booth, Michael Young, the all-time great for the Rangers. And Michael, you were part of honoring Derek before tonight's game, and I know that had to mean a lot to you.
It did. Derek and I go way back, and we got close through playing the WBC and some All-Star games. And every time I see him, it's always a good time. So we've kept in touch over the years, and when the Rangers asked me to be a part of this ceremony, that was a no-brainer. I actually planned to be here tonight anyway.
You hear a lot of players around baseball, Michael, say that if they try to emulate a player, that Derek Jeter is that player. A lot of players said the same thing about you. So how did you look at Derek Jeter as a guy that you tried to emulate as well?
I did. I think one of the things I love about Derek is he's got obviously his career numbers speak for themselves. I've never seen him. Every home run I've seen him hit, by the time the ball hits the stands, he's already well past first. He does that every single time he hits a ground ball. It's one of those things where players got about, especially when they hit ground balls, they got about 4 seconds to basically show the entire stadium what they're made of. And Derek shows it every time. He runs hard down the line every single time. He takes a lot of pride in the way he plays and what's expected of him by a great organization. And that's one of the reasons why he's so widely respected. One of the many reasons.
And Elvis just gave a nice little tribute to that jump throw. Say, here, I'll show you what it looks like on the other end.
You really couldn't ask for a better opportunity if you're Elvis to get that opportunity and have Jeter hit the ball.
That's great.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, Elvis mapped that one out for the last week or so.
Yeah, he waited so he could do that same play.
Yeah.
So I take it you're not a big fan of the watch the ball, bat flip, take 30 seconds to get around the bases?
Not a big fan of that at all. I think that, call it old school. I don't think I'm overly sensitive about these issues, but at the same time, I think that when you're out in the field, there's a certain level of respect that you got to, the way I see it, the guy on the mound worked extremely hard to get to the big leagues too, and you got to respect that.
Well, Jacoby Ellsbury on a 1-0 pitch just hit a bullet into the Ranger bullpen. His 9th home run of the year. That cuts the Ranger lead to 3-2. That didn't have any hang time whatsoever getting out.
Michael, we probably need to ask you, how is retirement coming along?
It's been nice. It's been nice. You know, this is my first summer home. When I first announced my retirement, my sons were in school, so I had a lot of time in the morning. But no one told me in the summertime they don't have school. So it's I spent a lot of time in that car taking them from A to B. But that's exactly what I wanted to do, especially my first summer off.
How many times has your wife said to you, "Now you see what I go through every day"?
That's her mantra right now, actually. Yeah.
So get in the car and do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't really have much of a comeback for that one.
Well, you do it more often, though, you'll get a comeback.
Right, exactly, right?
You'll be able to develop it, okay. Yeah. Teixeira fouls one off. It's 1-2 to Tex.
You know, one of the things I noticed in all the speeches at the Hall of Fame where every player mentioned something just like that about their wife and family. I know you feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that was my primary reason, but basically the reason for me to stop playing. I love the competition. I miss the competition, but I felt like it was the right move for me and my family.
Now 2 outs. Carlos Beltran, and near the end of the ceremony, President George W. Bush out there. All 3 up with Michael and Derek Jeter and Pudge Rodriguez. And a pat on the head.
That's awesome.
I think the president was probably saying, you know, when I was managing general partner, you had more hair than that. What the deal is.
Yeah, somehow I don't think there's a lot of presidents that would tap Pudge's head like that.
Yeah.
I think we have a rare one right there.
Yeah. Now the question is, would he do that to Beltran?
No, the question is, would Pudge do it to him?
I'm
glad he didn't.
Yeah. I think it's probably better for the Secret Service did it to Beltran, not President Bush.
That's a good point. Adrian gets a little sensitive about that dome touch. 2-0 is the count, and Beltran takes a strike at 2-1. Visiting with Michael Young, and Michael, what are your plans for the immediate future? You have anything going as far as with the Rangers or anything?
You know, there's been open lines of communication, which has been great. You know, I knew that my first year off, I wanted to just relax and enjoy my family. Didn't really want to have a schedule. I wanted to be able to kind of go at my own pace and do what I wanted to do. But it's a good piece of it. But I mean, I think that the biggest thing was spending time with my family, and then you know, I think I've left a couple doors open with the team and with a few broadcasting opportunities. So. You know, those are the things that I have in my immediate future, but the biggest thing is making sure that my schedule is always flexible so I get my time with my family.
Yeah, you spend the 18 years or so that you missed with that.
Right.
You deserve the chance to catch up with it.
Yeah, I got 3 sons, and I'm enjoying my time with them. It's been a good time.
Learned a few things. My kids, when I started spending time, taught me more than I taught them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought I was a pretty patient guy. Apparently, I wasn't.
Well, go down to Emily Jones. I understand she has a question for Michael.
Michael, I want to know how those baseball lessons are going with Amelia.
Oh yeah. So yeah, just to fill everybody in, my wife one time said my middle son Emilio is a baseball junkie. He loves it. He hits left-handed, but he's already started to switch hit at 4.5. And my wife said, you know, Emilio really loves to play. So my wife said, Emilio really loves to play. Maybe we should think about getting him a hitting coach. Like, seriously?
No, she did.
Yeah, she did.
Oh my goodness.
Complete game face, the whole thing. Dead serious about the whole thing. Like I have no say in that kind of thing.
Can you
Rudy Jaramillo lives over near you somewhere.
She recommended Rudy actually. She said, Rudy will really do some wonders with this kid, don't you think?
Can you hang around for another half inning?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
We'll be back. The Yankees cut the lead. It's now 3-2 Texas. It's a 7:05 game. It's also Nolan Ryan Beef Dollar Hot Dog Night out here at Globe Life Park. Nolan Ryan Beef hot dogs are just $1 each. Don't wait. Get your tickets now at TexasRangers.com, or you can call 972-RANGERS. Visiting with Michael Young here as the Rangers come to bat in the bottom of the third inning. Michael telling us how he got dissed at home about the about the hitting coach. And no disrespect there. It's a hit batter. That'll bring up Adrian Beltre.
Michael, when you talk to ex-players who have recently retired and you ask this question, how much baseball do they watch? You get a lot of different answers. Some guys will say, I haven't watched a game in a year. Some guys will say, I can't get enough of it. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I watch a lot. But I kind of knew I would do that. I love baseball. I love talking baseball. I love watching baseball. I love thinking about baseball. And even when I'm down there watching the game today, I'm kind of thinking along with the at-bats. Remember my at-bats against Kuroda, and just telling myself, don't swing a slider with 2 strikes. I mean, it's just ingrained in my head. Yeah. But that's the fun part about it. But yeah, I do watch a lot of baseball, and I don't see that ever changing. I love the game.
No, I think what you said about missing the competition too. I'm not sure that ever goes away. I know for Tom and I it hasn't.
Right.
You know, it may get easier at times, but it's still that's the one thing you can't really replace in your life.
Right.
No. You can't replace the relationships in the clubhouse and the competition on the field.
Right.
It's something that you'll never forget about it.
Adrian Beltre with Alex Rios at first. Beltre, the RBI base hit back in the first inning. 1 ball, 1 strike. Oh, Adrian now 58 runs driven in this year. That batting average is .323.
He's a beast.
Isn't he something?
Yeah, he's great. Great teammate too.
2-1. Yeah, and Tom and I have talked about this frequently. I don't know how you feel about it, but we always, both of us thought, you know, when we saw Beltre before he came here, he's a good player. You know, obviously the numbers he put up, that kind of thing. We didn't realize how good he was till we got a chance to see him play every day and watch him interact with you guys and all the rest of his teammates.
I'm with you. You know, I played against him a lot when he was in Seattle when they were in our division. He was a good player.
Yep.
But nothing like, I mean, and to Adrian's credit, you don't see guys in their mid-30s making huge adjustments in their game. Adrian's is getting better. It's a huge credit to all the hard work he's put into the game. But he's a fantastic player.
You know, from time to time, we'll show the line drive that goes way over his head down the line when he throws his glove up at the ball, or when he gets underneath a pop-up that's about 20 feet away from him and pretends he's going to catch it. What did you think the first time you saw him do that?
He's a beauty. Every time he did it, I was biting the hook. Like he pointed at the umpire, and I'm staring. What the hell is he? What's he pointing at? Every time he did stuff like that, I was always falling for it. But then after a while, you kind of just get used to what he does. But at the same time, it was always funny. It never kind of lost how fun Adrian has playing the game.
Well, you can see from this angle, I fall for it every single time. I don't know whether it's going to be Elvis or going to be Adrian.
Yeah.
So I stopped calling who's going to get it.
The funny thing about pointing to first base, we were playing the Angels the other day, and Mike Trout did the same thing.
I saw that. Spreading like wildfire. That's good.
The other thing you see almost every team doing, and I got to think we were the first team to do it, were the signs after a base hit, a double, into the dugout.
Right.
Were we the first team that did that?
I think we were the first team that kind of did it all the time.
Yeah.
And even me, I was always a little uncomfortable doing that. You know, I would kind of, when they were doing, you know, the claw stuff, I would just do like a real small one. I didn't feel comfortable with it. And nowadays, man, they do everything. They looks like they're doing sign language, telling the guy their phone number when they get on base. But I mean, the game is always going to be changing. It's always going to be evolving, right? So I mean, that's just the way it goes. But yeah, I do think that we were the first ones to kind of do it all the time.
Everybody's doing it now. And who was it? Esteban Herman?
I think it was a combination of him and Nelly, and then it grew.
You got that going in spring training? Is that how?
I think so. I think so. I remember I wasn't too quick to get on board with it. And then I saw Murph do it one time, David Murphy, and he did it. I'm like, oh, we're done. If Murph's doing it. And it's just, I might as well just hop in line. If Murph's doing it, we're all doing it.
Adducey up the middle. Ryan to Jeter. Back to first in time for the double play. Well, the Rangers are gone. Michael, really appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Don't be a stranger.
You got it.
Stop on by.
You got it.
All right.
All right.
Go to the fourth inning. It's the Rangers 3 and the Yankees 2 on Fox Sports Southwest. Three-two count. New York coming to bat here in the top of the fourth inning. It'll be Francisco Cervelli, Zoilo Almonte, and Brendan Ryan to face Colby Lewis. Cervelli grounded into a fielder's choice that ended the Yankee first inning. That was with the bases loaded. First pitch to him, and Colby ties him up with a fastball. It is 0-1. Cervelli, as we mentioned, since coming back off the disabled list, he has been on fire offensively. He's also really testing that hamstring that sidelined him for 55 games. When Mark Teixeira was out, he had a pulled lat muscle. Brian McCann, the other catcher, had to play first base, and that meant Cervelli was in the lineup for a week straight. And Joe Girardi, the Yankee manager, of course, a former catcher, and he understood that he had to kind of protect Cervelli. But apparently he's survived the ordeal pretty well. 1-1 pitch on the way. Now 2-1. A great night out here at Globe Life Park. The stands are packed. A great ball game. And we have a Hall of Famer that just came in the booth with us. How about that? Doesn't get any better than that.
Where's that? Where?
Eric Nadel, the newest member of Cooperstown in the broadcasters wing. Eric, congratulations.
Hey, thanks, Buzz.
What were now that you've had a day to digest, kind of 2 days, I guess, how was it? How did you look at the whole thing?
It was like a dream.
Yeah.
It really was. It was like it was in some other world. It was totally surreal.
You had to have thought about it for months and months, and when you finally got there and went through it, was it exactly what you expected?
It was actually beyond what I expected, and everyone who'd won the award told me this is going to be beyond anything you've ever experienced. Just soak it up, try and slow things down, stay in the moment, and yet before I knew it, it was gone.
Oh, man.
72 hours were gone in a blink of an eye.
Wow.
The center field, plenty of time for Leonis to get there. That is out number one.
Well, your speech was absolutely tremendous. How long did it take you to put the final touches on it?
It took a long time, Tom. Thanks. I started working on it in April. Generally on the planes I would work on it. I wrote about half of it, and every time I'd go back to try and finish it, I'd have to read what I wrote to that point, and I decided it wasn't any good. I'd rewrite the half I'd already written. I wasn't getting anywhere. And finally I asked Ken Levine, the former baseball announcer who wrote Cheers and MASH, what do I do? I'm kind of stuck here. And he said, well, you idiot. You don't rewrite anything until you're finished with it, or nobody would ever finish anything. He says, finish it, and then we'll put the two halves together. He said, send it to me. I'll edit it for you. And that's what I did. He helped cut it down from 14 minutes to 10.
Hey, you went to Brown. You should have known that.
I should have.
No. Well, hey, we've got a little treat for you. We're going to get to that in just a second. As soon as Almonte makes it out here, we've got a little clip we want to go to.
Oh, I thought you were going to give me a photo from President Bush.
We could do that too if you'd like to send one down. And to left field, Adduci with room in front of the track. That is out number 2. And now let's go to our favorite Eric Nadel clip.
As a team, we still haven't won the big one, but we won this award together. The pain and frustration we've experienced has brought us closer together. And in the meantime, at least we have this award to celebrate. I can honestly say I'm proud to be a Texas Ranger. I know you're proud to be Texas Rangers fans.
Very good. Very good.
Yes, I own that tie.
No, you took the words right out of my mouth. Did you rent that outfit?
Omar Minaya gave me the tie. I've had the suit for about 20 years. It's the only one I own.
Okay.
But Omar Minaya was going to be with me in Cooperstown. He worked for the Rangers, then the Mets, now the Padres. He said, I can't be here. I want you to have this tie. He knows I love Mr. Met. On that tie, the little dots are Mr. Met heads.
Wow.
As a kid, I loved Mr. Met. I never got to meet him. And when we played the Mets finally the last year at Shea Stadium, I remember telling Omar, please send Mr. Met to my booth. He remembered that. He brought me that yellow power tie. I've never owned a yellow tie.
Wow.
My tie collection is pretty sketchy. And so I wore that. It was my way of having Omar with me and Mr. Met with me.
That's tremendous.
Yeah.
You got to put that in a frame.
People are counting on my wearing a tie like that again sometime soon. I don't think so.
No, I don't think you can top that day.
And a foul straight back. That was headed to your booth.
The suit, however, see if they can zero in and see Mr. Met.
Oh, I see Mr. Met. I see the hat.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so,
now, how long has Mr. Met been Mr. Met?
I remember Mr. Met from the very beginning of the Mets. I think he might have been there in 1962. He might have lost 120 games that first year with Roger Craig and the rest of them.
Mr. Met was pitching for the Mets back then.
Right field, that is going to fall untouched back into the seats.
You have to be good to lose 20 games. That's what Bob Murphy and Lindsey Nelson used to tell us all the time, where they wouldn't keep sending you out there. And I think the Mets had a couple of guys that year who might have done that. I know Roger lost 24. They made them all sound good, though, and those were major influences on me, especially during the Rangers' lean years, to try and stay upbeat. Give the fans hope and just enjoy the baseball game, whether or not your team's in a race.
Who were your favorite announcers?
Well, it started with Mel Allen and Red Barber, and then the Mets announcers, Bob Murphy and Lindsey Nelson. But Marv Albert, really above all, as the Rangers and New York Knicks announcer, was the guy who probably excited me, more than anybody. Really drove me to go into this profession.
Was there one that you talked to and asked questions that was a biggest influence?
Bill Mazer was the guy. He was actually a talk show host. He was the guy who told me go to a college with a good radio station and get as much airtime as you can.
Can you hang around for just a little bit longer?
Yeah, I'm not doing anything.
Okay. Gone in order are the Yankees after 3.5. Rangers by 1 over New York.
go to Jim Knox.
Man, that is, can you believe that was Eric Nadel who just talked? I'm just like stunned right now. Right now we have the Fan Express, Fox Sports Fan Express rolled in this afternoon from Dallas on board. Plenty of 1310, the ticket, 96.7 listeners, and good smooth bus ride over.
Oh, yeah, it was great. The only thing missing was the Musers. Shout out to the Musers in the morning show. I know you're doing a great job out in California right now. And what?
There we go.
Yep.
Sounds good. All right. Good to have you out here. Root on the Rangers. Appreciate it. Eric, back to you.
Hey, thanks, Jim. J.P. Arancibia wraps a single into left field.
Nice goal. You guys are pretty good together.
We got to get Nazi over on the radio side.
Nazi fired up.
Especially in these 4-hour ball games.
Yeah, how was last night?
It was a little long for the first game back. I was a little bit short on sleep. But,
I can imagine.
It was fun, though, there in the ninth inning. Things got a little interesting.
That 3-2 pitch to Beltre had to get pretty exciting for a second.
I thought there might have been a chance. Yep. Apparently Joe Girardi did, too. He thought it was gone.
You couldn't tell. I was, since we had the night off, I was sitting and watching it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And by that time, we were all bleary-eyed after 4 hours of it all. The Yankees had thrown over 200 pitches.
1-0 the count to Leonis Martin with Arancibia at first. Now 2-0.
But, the thing about the weekend that was incredible for me is, my heroes as a kid were first Sandy Koufax and then Tom Seaver. My goal was to get to talk extensively to those two guys. I'd met them both before, but very briefly. And when I checked into the Hotel Otesaga, the guy next to me getting out of his car was Tom Seaver.
Wow.
So it started instantly.
Wow.
It was fantastic.
That's
great. It was a tremendous, quote, coincidence. My wife claims there are no coincidences, and, who knows? It was pretty weird. There's some 50 Hall of Famers coming back there. The guy I most want to talk to happens to be getting out of his car the second I check in.
Wow.
Amazing.
And they don't come more gracious than Sandy Koufax, do they?
No, he's just wonderful. And fortunately, he really enjoyed the speech because it made a lot of references to him and to Brooklyn.
Right. Watch out.
Arancibia has to slide into second ahead of the throw from Cervelli. There's one of those hometown bounces that almost went against the Rangers.
In fact, I made reference in the speech to not being able to get Sandy's autograph for my friends. And as soon as the speech was over, I saw Sandy coming over to me. He was sitting all the way on the side of the stage, and he said, "How many do you want? 40? 50?"
No, he didn't.
He said, "Whatever you want." Yeah, it was great. He loved the fact that everybody was there from my high school, from my neighborhood. He really seemed to appreciate that, being a Brooklyn kid himself.
Now, how far from where he grew up did you grow up?
It's a mile or two, I guess. But, in New York, you don't really use miles when you're in the city. He was probably one neighborhood over is the best way of putting it. I lived in Flatbush, and he lived in Coney Island. And, we were rival high schools, but there were about 6 high schools in that area who you would say were, rivals against one another.
Now let's take time here for a Mazda game break with Dana Larson. Dana? All right, thank you, Dana. Eric Nadel joining us. Rangers trying to add some more to their lead, which currently is 3-2. And Robinson Chirinos trying to bunt and didn't have a real good attempt at it.
That was going to be a pretty tough pitch to bunt.
Yeah, sure was.
If you can bunt that one on the ground, you've laid down a great bunt.
That thing coming up about high and pretty much at his coconut. That's a little tough to get it down. That one's over his head.
He really doesn't want to be bunted on, does he?
I guess not.
I wouldn't feel too comfortable right now if I was Chirinos.
Somewhere along the line, somebody told Kuroda that he had to throw the pitch high if the guy was trying to bunt.
You remember in the old days, Buzz, when batters used to square around to bunt?
Yeah.
You never see a guy do that anymore.
Couldn't get out of the way.
Couldn't get out of the way.
Did you square around?
I think I did early, but then as soon as people started doing this way, I was very happy because the other way, you just feel so vulnerable.
Yeah, this bunt is down. They're going to go to third, and they get the force on the sliding Aaron Sebia. So the wheel play was on, and it works with Jeter covering third base. Actually, it wasn't too bad a bunt under normal circumstances, but with the wheel on, that's not a normal circumstance.
Well, as a hitter, you can pick up the wheel play before the pitcher throws the ball, and the infielders try to disguise that so you can't. Then you really can't bunt the ball. There's nowhere that you can bunt the ball to keep that from happening.
And Wash tells his hitters, if you see the wheel play on, swing away.
Yep, absolutely.
No matter what the sign was, if you see that shortstop breaking for third, start swinging.
And the key for the shortstop is try not to break so that the hitter can see you break. And Jeter waited as long as he could. And Chirinos obviously didn't pick it up.
I guess Jeter knows how to do that.
I think he's, yeah, they say he's been around a while.
It's so weird now for me in the shift to see him playing third base against some of these guys.
Yeah.
You know, he's never played a position other than short. Well, I'm sorry, he's playing third base on that play.
Look at Odor takes the
so
first
now if
pitch
they hit
high.
a ground ball to him, is it a 6-3 or 5-3?
Apparently it's still a 6-3. I was told. Doesn't seem right.
No.
Well, in Jeter's case, they would have to make an exception to the baseball rule because Jeter's not going to be credited with anything but a 6.
Right. You can't soil that perfectly.
No.
Now, I met Derek Jeter tonight for the first time.
Did you?
Yeah. I wanted to make sure I shook his hand. First time. I've never had occasion. And, you know, I've gone to the Yankee clubhouse a million times. Those guys are never around before a game.
Right.
And, you know, I don't have cause to go in there after a game. So I literally haven't met the guy. From the time he broke into the league, I was no longer doing the player interviews before the game. I was always doing the manager show. But tonight I said, I'm not letting this guy get away without at least looking him in the eye, telling him it's been a pleasure watching him, and I'm really going to miss it. And I'm really glad. I waited for the Yankees in the dugout when they came out to stretch, and I got a chance to do good.
That one is popped up on the infield. Infield fly rule will be in effect. Brendan Ryan takes care of it. Odor is out. 2 gone for the top of the order now. Shin-Soo Choo.
And of course, he had no idea who I was.
That's all right.
Just told him I've been doing this for a while.
He does now.
Who's that guy stalking me in the dugout?
And he will when he gets inducted in the Hall of Fame. And you're there as one of the returnees. You'll know.
You know, it's interesting, too. You know, I wonder about going back there. None of the Ford Frick Award winners returned if they're still working, except for John Miller, who's my first partner, who went there, you know, so he could be there to support me. The other guys are doing their jobs, and you know, they're continuing to work. And I was thinking, would I go back? I said, well, and when Pudge gets in, I'll certainly go back. You know, I'm assuming Pudge will get in, whether it's on his first year of eligibility or the second one. You know, I'm certainly not going to miss that. And, you know, one of the things about my winning the Frick Award this year, which was somewhat unanticipated, I figured you do it long enough, they're going to give you stuff. Eventually, maybe I'd win this thing. Figured it would be another 3 or 4 years. Maybe I'd win the same year as Pudge, and that would have been really cool. But this is even better. I get to go back when Pudge goes in. You know, if I hadn't gone back to that point, I'll certainly go back that year. Maybe Pudge will let me help him with the speech.
Pudge is getting pretty good, but I bet you'd welcome the opportunity to sit down with you and go over a few sentences.
You know, the greatest thing about making that speech was when I realized that there's no echo the way there is in the ballpark. I was able to talk at my normal pace. That really made it a lot easier than when you go out here. As you know, Tom, when you MC one of those things, you have to talk in phrases, you have to pause, you have to talk slower than usual. When I saw you could talk at your normal pace, I said, this is going to be like talking at a banquet. And that's really how I approached it. It made it a lot easier.
2-1 to Choo.
Yeah, the first time that you speak in this ballpark, no matter what they tell you, it throws you off.
It's difficult. And the other thing was, you know, it wasn't that hot. You know, there have been times there where you see people melting out there. The weather was quite moderate. I got very lucky.
Into the shift, and Ryan will take care of it. That'll do it for the Rangers. They waste an opportunity with 2 on, and they will leave 2 stranded. Eric, again, congratulations from all of us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Great. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
Proud to be here.
We'll go to the 5th. 3-2 Rangers. and by Southwest Airlines. Find Southwest Airlines fares online only at southwest.com. And by the all-new Mazda 3 with seamless connectivity. Now, Colby Lewis back out for the 5th inning here. Rangers leading 3-2. And our never-ending line of guests has increased by 1. Mark McLemore joining us tonight.
Hey, they just keep getting better and better, don't they, Buzz?
Listen, hey, this is a tough act to follow. Michael Young, Nadell, Rangers Hall of Famer, another Hall of Famer. This isn't good.
He's speechless.
Man, I can't even get it out.
Just among friends now. That's
all right.
You don't have to worry about it. We'll figure out something here. I don't know what.
Buzz, before we get started, I forgot a shout out last inning. H. Brian Poff from Fort Worth is a great Ranger fan, a great Derek Jeter fan, and he's 103 years old watching the game tonight.
Holy cow. Wow. That's great.
So, Mr. Poff, thank you for being such a great fan, for having such a wonderful life, and hope you're getting a great chance to watch Derek Jeter tonight and the Rangers.
And before we get too far along, as Colby comes back to the plate, that's out of play. A change for the Rangers in right field now. Daniel Robertson is coming to the ballgame to take over for Alex Rios. Rios was hit in the left quad in that 3rd inning, and apparently it kind of stiffened up on him. So he's not able to get back out there, and the Rangers, out of an abundance of caution, have replaced Rios with Daniel Robertson. To left field, hit pretty well, carrying back, but Adduci back there to make the grab as Jim steps onto the warning track. That is out number 1. Colby Lewis is retired for the last 5. Derek Jeter is 3rd at bat of the night. Mac, I'm sure you saw that play that Elvis made on Jeter the last time he was up, a little jump throw. Michael Young hinted that that might have been something that Elvis was planning for a while. Is that what?
Would not surprise me. He might do it here again.
That'd be a tough one going to his left and jumping.
You have to circle that and come back, huh? No, Jeter's 0 for 3. I can't believe fielders would do that. Playing stuff like that?
Really?
It looked like he waited about a second before he went to his right to catch that ball.
Just a little hesitation.
Make sure he could backhand it.
Give him a nice little send-off.
Oh, man. Very, very fitting.
Worst thing that could possibly have happened. He threw it away at first base. Glad he didn't do that.
Wash might have been standing up right there at the fence.
Now here's Ellsbury, who hit the home run to the Ranger bullpen his last time up. It was his 9th home run of the year, and the 2 home runs tonight, fortunately, for Colby Lewis and the Rangers, have been solo shots. Ellsbury, and back in the 1st inning, Brett Gardner. And that pitch misses. 2 balls, no strikes. Ellsbury with the average at 280, 9 home runs, 48 runs driven in. 2-1. Our Jack in the Box pitch tracker showing you Colby really working at the bottom of that strike zone, trying to paint that outside corner at the same time. And he gets Ellsbury to roll over on one, and right there is Rougned Odor. And that'll be a very quick 1-2-3 inning. Colby Lewis gets the job done on 9 pitches. He's gone. We're halfway through the game. Rangers 3, Yankees 2. Up with Carter Blood. 3 lives. And we begin our drive this Friday at the Allen Donor Center. That's at 1328 West McDermott Drive, Suite 250. And it's open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And please come out and help the Carter Blood Care save 1,000. Bottom of the 5th inning, Elvis, first ball swinging, chops one right back to Kuroda. And 1 pitch, 1 away. Elvis now 1 for 3. And Daniel Robertson will come up for his first at bat. Before he does, let's take time for a Mazda game break. Once again, here's Dana Larson. Thanks, Dana. You had to throw that in, didn't you, after last night's 351 or whatever it was? I didn't know it was legal to play a game in 2 hours and 10 minutes. Unless you got shortchanged by the rain.
4 1/3 inning game like the Rangers played in New York.
Daniel Robertson, 274 average for the right fielder now. Again, in case you missed it, Alex Rios plunked by a Kuroda pitch in the 3rd inning, on the quad, and apparently it kind of stiffened up, and he's not able to continue. And Robertson will not be able to continue after swinging at strike 3. Now, Kuroda with just his 2nd strikeout of the night. His first 2 were gone, and here comes Adrian Beltre.
Both pitches were a little shaky in the 1st inning. Kuroda had to throw 33 pitches. But they both settled down pretty nicely since then. Yankees did score a run in the 3rd, but both pitchers throwing a lot better right now than they were in the 1st inning.
Here's Beltre. Adrian is 1 for 2 with an RBI and a run scored, and he's going to have another base hit. That over the glove with the leaping of Brendan Ryan into right field. So Adrian 2 for 3. He'll have that batting average up close to 325 again.
Another great piece of hitting by Beltre. You know, occasionally he'll go into that, 4 or 5 days where he doesn't get a hit, but he knows how to get himself out of it. He's trying to take the ball the other way, not trying to pull too much, and gets a base hit to the opposite field.
It's interesting you bring that up, Matt, because I can remember back in May, I think it was, and Adrian was struggling. He was trying to get himself back together, and he started getting some base hits, started getting his average on the rise. He was still mad at himself. He said, I'm still not driving the ball to right field. He said, right center field. He said, when I start driving the ball to right center, I know I'm back to where I need to be. And it was probably another week and a half, and there he was.
There he was, and that's how most hitters are when they're hitting the ball the opposite way, driving it. That means they're on.
Jim Adducci driving that thing right back up the middle. Back-to-back 2-out singles. 2 on for J.P. Arancibia. Down there in Adducci's happy zone. Down the middle, down about knee-high, and whack. So how does a hitter go from swinging the bat well, hitting the ball well, to being in a funk?
I really, really wish I had an answer for that. I wish I had an answer for that when I played.
Yeah.
No answer. No answer for that. It just happens.
It does.
One day you're swinging the bat well, and the next day you come out and you say to yourself, where's that feeling I had yesterday? The bat feels a little heavy, your hands are a little puffy. You don't get that good feel when you swing the bat, and you're going, oh, man. And once you start thinking like that, you lose your confidence a little bit, and before you know it, it's whatever happened to that great swing.
I mean, it could be, for me, it could be day to day. I mean, I'd go 4 for 4 one night and come out the next day, and it feels like I had the other end of the bat in my hand.
Yeah.
And just couldn't hit anything.
That fast.
That fast.
I had it happen in a doubleheader one time. got 4 hits in the first game, went 0 for 4 in the second game, and didn't come close to hitting the ball hard. Now, the pitcher has a little bit to do with it, too.
You ate too much in between games?
Well, back then it wasn't fruit and turkey, I'll tell you that. There was about as much cake and ice cream as you could eat.
Yeah, a cold cut sandwich.
If they ever put out fruit and turkey between games of a doubleheader, it'd been a mutiny. We wouldn't have played the second game.
Down the left field line and just hooked foul. Well, Aaron Sebia, the way he's swinging the bat, I'm surprised that didn't fall in.
Hey, Jim Kern's out there in a Yankee shirt. Looks good. Nope, it's hooking. Good, Jim Kern. Oh, that's not. No. That's a young move.
2-2 now, the count to Aaron Sebia. JP's got a single in a couple of trips tonight. He's continuing to swing the bat well. Now hitting at 189. And I'm saying that as a point of reference, considering that he was hitting at 133 when he joined the ball club a week ago last Friday in Toronto. 9th player in Major League history with 2 or more doubles and 2 or more home runs in a 7+ RBI game last night. You start talking about it in the history of baseball, that I don't care if you're the one of 200, that's pretty impressive.
That's very impressive.
Beltre at second, Adduci at first. Rangers leading 3-2, and Aaron Sebia trying to add on. Payoff pitch. Got him swinging. Well, Corona with a nasty splitter, it looked like, and Aaron Sebia gone. Rangers get a couple of 2-out hits, but Strand 2. We're going to the 6th inning. It's the Rangers 3, the Yankees 2 on Fox Sports Southwest. Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. The Ford Summer Spectacular Sales Event, now playing at a Ford dealer near you. And by Budweiser, a reminder from Budweiser that great times are waiting. Designate a driver. The crowd in a festive mood out here at Globe Life Park as the Yankees come to bat in the top of the 6th inning, trailing 3-2, and Colby Lewis was a fastball right on by Mark Teixeira. Teixeira 0 for 1 tonight. Walked in the first, struck out in the third. The pitch high. Colby tonight has 2 walks. They both came in that first inning. And 2 strikeouts. giving up 2 runs on 4 hits. 2-1. And a shot right at Odor, who's out in shallow right field in the shift. Teixeira is out number 1.
A lot of hitters, a lot of left-hand hitters finding that what used to be a base hit to right field is now a line drive to second base.
Looks like that shift worked again.
A couple years ago, the only question there was would it go down the line for a double, not whether it was going to be a hit or not.
Well, 1 out now, Carlos Beltran, who is 2 for 2, a pair of singles. He has gotten his average up over the 240 level. 241 to be exact here in the 6th inning. He takes ball 1. Colby Lewis drops in the 90th pitch of the night. Big breaking ball that catches the inside corner.
Okay, here's another question for you guys with no answer. Why is that shift in evidence so much against left-hand hitters but not right-hand hitters? Obviously, right-hand hitters don't pull the ball on the ground as much as left-hand hitters.
Right.
But why?
Well, you see it, now you see it for a guy like Pujols. But I think you have to be careful because on the right side of the diamond, it's a shorter throw for a guy that plays in shallow right field. On the left side of the diamond, you put the shortstop
you can't play out in left field.
Yeah.
But you really don't see the shortstop over toward third and the second baseman behind second that much.
Not that much. Just a few guys.
And there's a couple of guys that I'm thinking of, but Pujols and I can see in my mind somebody else too. Power hitters that don't run all that well.
Yeah.
Vlad Guerrero, they used to do that too.
Konerko.
Go. Ducey will handle that, and Colby Lewis, very quick again, a 9-pitch inning. He's able to send the Yankees down in order. He's now retired 10 straight. Bottom of the 6th coming up. Rangers by 1. It's time now for the Sonic Slam Inning, brought to you by Sonic. Tonight's jackpot is worth $1,300 and dinner for 2 at Sonic Drive-In. Tonight, the Rangers are hitting for Benny Abel from Greenville. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam during the inning, Benny Abel from Greenville will win $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. Well, Leonis Martin will start things off. It's the bottom third of the Ranger order to face Hiroki Kuroda. Martin has been aboard both times that he has come up tonight. He has singled, driven in a run, and he's also walked. Got an idea about bunting, but Took the pitch. It's strike one. Leonis now with the average moving in the preferred direction. It's headed up. He's at 264. Hard hit ground ball, but Brendan Ryan stays down to grab it. One away. And let's go over to Jim Knox. Jim?
All right, Buzz, real quick, brief out here. It's Karen Norris of the Rangers here to talk about a big RBI World Series coming next week here in Arlington.
That's right. For the first time in 22 years, the Rangers will be the host of the RBI World Series. We'll have 16 boys teams and 8 girls teams from 19 different cities from as far away as Venezuela to as close as Austin. They'll compete in pool play at fields in Grapevine, Colleyville, and Southlake. And the boys will play their championship game right here on the field at Globe Life Park.
Now, RBI is all about reviving baseball in the inner cities. For people to get involved or learn more, what do they need to do, Karen?
Go to MLB.com/RBI World Series. There'll be game schedules there. They'll have information about volunteering and how you can come out and see these great kids playing baseball.
There you go. A wealth of information. Buzz, can you get anyone who can talk faster than Karen? I mean, it's just unbelievable. That's a great job, Karen. All right, thank you, Buzz.
Thanks, Noxie. Oh, goodness. Robinson Chirinos down on the count. No balls, 2 strikes. Kuroda back to him. 1-2 now. Chirinos has grounded out a couple of times. Actually, last time he bunted into a fielder's choice. 0 for 2 and now hitting at 226. 2-2. Interesting little setup about the fielder's choice that Robinson bunted into his last time at bat. I'll show you that in just a second. Up the middle, that's into center field, a base hit. So Chirinos with the 1-out single is on. Let's take a look at that animation of the wheel play.
Well, you look at this. This is the wheel play. Every team in Major League Baseball runs this play where you've got the corners crashing, you've got the second baseman and shortstop going to cover first and third base. And the only way this play works is if the bunter bunts the ball to the third baseman who's charging or the first baseman who's charging. So it was perfectly executed by the Yankees. But on the Rangers side, Chirinos, when you see that wheel play, you take the pitch. Because if you bunt to first or third, there's probably going to be a play at third base, and especially when you've got a catcher at second base trying to get to third base.
Now, if you're the infielders, Mac, do you try to wait as long as you can to disguise it so the hitter can't pick it up?
Well, you don't wait. As soon as the pitcher goes to the plate, because he's going to be in the stretch, as soon as he goes to the plate, that's when everybody breaks.
Right.
So everybody has to go simultaneously, especially the shortstop. He has to get ahead of that runner at second base so he gives himself time to get to third base, slow down, set up, and receive the throw. So there's got to be, preferably at least 5 feet between the shortstop and the runner at second base when the shortstop takes off.
So if you're the shortstop, it looks like the shortstop comes right in toward the runner and gets near the runner. Is that to keep the runner still, or so the batter can't see what you're doing?
No, it's to keep the runner still and keep him as close to second base as possible. You want that runner at second base to think there's possibly a pickoff play at second base. So if he takes a jab step back to second base, you can make the play at third base and get him. So that's what Jeter was doing. He crept right up behind the base runner at second base, Aaron Sebia, just to let him know, hey, I'm here. It might be a pickoff, just to hold him there just a little bit longer.
Wild pitch from Kuroda gets Chirinos into scoring position for Rougned Odor. Rugi not having much success going after that split-fingered pitch. It's 1-2. Odor tonight has grounded out and popped out. Rangers 3 runs on 9 hits so far this evening. The Yankees have been held to 2 runs on 4 hits by Colby Lewis. Rangers tonight 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Pitch in the dirt. Stopped by Cervelli. It's 2-2. say something very quickly to Kuroda. 20-year-old Rougned Odor trying to give the Rangers a little bit more cushion. Odor with 20 RBI for the season. He's been a .313 hitter in his last 2 weeks of play. Fouls that straight back. Chevy pitch tracker showing you a lot of split fingers on this at bat from Kuroda. That last fastball that was away. Chirinos getting his lead from second. Still 2-2. Rangers trying to make Kuroda work a little bit here. Since that first inning, they have not been able to get to him for a large number of pitches in one inning. Now they've gotten his pitch count up to above 90, 94 this next offering. Got him swinging. Well, that is a devastating split finger pitch that he has going tonight. Fourth strikeout for Kuroda. 2 gone. Shin-Soo Choo coming up. Chevy pitch tracker showing you that. And you get an idea from our center field camera, that ball had to look like it was going to be right about thigh high to Odor when it was coming in.
That's just not fair for a pitch to move that much. And you know what makes it really, really deceiving is that Kuroda looks the exact same way when he throws his fastball. Doesn't put any more into it. He doesn't slow his body or arm down. It looks just like his fastball.
Is it hard to pick up a split finger pitch as a hitter?
I'm still trying to pick one up.
Are you?
I've never been able to pick one up. There were certain guys that threw it, and if I got to two strikes, it was 3 strikes. Because I just couldn't, I knew it was coming, and there was nothing I could do.
Right. Well, guys that have had good ones, it goes back to, well, Bruce Sutter was the first reliever that I can remember that really perfected that pitch. You couldn't tell the difference watching him on the side, whether he was throwing a fastball or a splitter. There's probably 5 miles an hour difference in velocity, but the ball dropped about 1.5 feet too with the splitter.
There's no chance.
Ryan Fearabin, left-hander, getting loose in the Ranger bullpen. And that, at that time, it became one of the more popular pitches, I guess, for guys to try and pick up. That's in the dirt. Chu taking it. It's 3-0. Kind of like the cutter was a decade or so ago for pitchers. It became very fashionable to try and throw a splitter at one point. Then Jack Morris, who perfected it as a starter, started having some arm problems. They blamed the splitter, or rightly or wrongly. That kind of got guys off of it.
Well, I think there were a few guys. You guys remember Brian Harvey?
Sure.
Closer?
Yeah.
Sure. He had a devastating one, but he ended up having arm problems.
3-1. Yeah, and it's, you know, it's hard to tell whether a particular pitch is the culprit or whether he was just going to have a blowout no matter what.
Yeah. The other guy that came up with it and turned his whole career around was Dave Stewart.
Yep.
Right.
He went from a hard throwing guy with a straight fastball to a 4-year in a row 20-game winner.
Full count now. Adam Warren out there throwing. Hard throwing right-hander, saw him last night. 3-2. Kuroda with a payoff pitch. Hard hit, but into the shift. That's Headley, the third baseman, playing behind the bag, and he flips on to first. So that'll do it for the Rangers. Nothing going, 3-2 Texas. Mac, thanks for joining us. We will see you after the ball game on Rangers Live. See you. taken over since that third inning. The Yankees 2 runs on 4 hits. Rangers 3 runs on 9 hits. Colby Lewis 6 innings of work. 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. He retired the last 10 that he has faced as he gets ready to work here in the 7th. Yankee home runs by Brett Gardner and by Jacoby Ellsbury. And that's been the only damage to Colby Lewis tonight. He will face the bottom third of the New York order. Francisco Cervelli, Zoilo Almonte, and Brendan Ryan. Cervelli has flied out and grounded out. Cervelli taking some time getting in there. Colby now to the wide. The first pitch is high, like a slider that stayed up. 1 ball, no strikes. Cervelli with the average at .301 presently. The breaking ball, this one down a little bit, 2-0. And inning by inning, Colby also having trouble in the first inning, but then it has been an outstanding effort since. Just 95 pitches as he works in the 7th inning tonight. 2-1. Cervelli having a little chat with himself and talking to no one in particular. Next pitch from Lewis is fouled back, and Colby now has worked the count back even at 2-2. Native of Bakersfield, California, down at the south end of the San Joaquin Valley. 63% fastballs tonight. 30% breaking ball, and that goes between a slider and a curveball, and also the changeup. 2-2. Did he go? Yes, he did. And they're not even going to bother. Ed Hickok says, no, I got that. And Colby with a strikeout. That is his 3rd of the night.
Yeah, I'm not going to ring you up and then ask for help. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know what the first base umpire is going to say, whether he thinks it's a strike or not.
That's pretty definitive right there.
Yep.
No, 1 gone. And now Zoilo Almonte, switch hitting outfielder, up for his 3rd at bat. And Colby deals a strike.
Yeah, Colby trying to have his longest outing of the season. Almost duplicating his last outing. That was against the Yankees. He went 6 1/3, 4 hits, 3 runs. Today it's right now 6 1/3, 4 hits, and only 2 runs.
And the 100th pitch of the night for Colby Lewis is a strike. It's 0-2. Well, Colby had said the other day he felt like he was getting better each time out. Getting back into competition after laying off for a year and a half. Chopper right back to it. Out number 2. And assuming that, Colby is in good shape, and assuming that he is going to be in good shape, it's good to see him continuing to improve. Well, folks, on Tuesday, August 12th, the Rays are in town, and that'll be the night where one of the most collectible giveaways of the year is in play. It's the first 15,000 fans will be treated to a Pudge Rodriguez Gold Glove bobblehead. That's courtesy of Dr. Pepper and Minier Food Stores. Bobblehead features Pudge Rodriguez surrounded by all 13 of his gold gloves. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com, or if you prefer, call 972-RANGERS. Two outs, the number 9 man, Brendan Ryan, up there. 0-1 the count to him. Now 0-2. Colby Lewis, boy, just going through them like a hot knife through butter.
He's retired 12 straight. Got it going right now.
Working quickly back with the 0-2. Didn't miss by much. 12 straight now sent down by Colby Lewis. Ryan is grounded out and popped out. And down the left side, but that's hooked foul. Brendan Ryan, a .203 hitter as he bats with the bases empty and 2 away here in the Yankees 7th inning. Rangers trying to win their first series since June 27th and 28th. Beat the Minnesota Twins 2 out of 3 here. Got him swinging. A couple of strikeouts in the inning. 13 consecutive sent down. Colby Lewis, another 1-2-3 frame. We'll take the stretch at Globe Life Park. The Rangers 3 and the Yankees 2. Hometown Kids. It's on every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock right here on Fox Sports Southwest, where it's not about the score, it's about the experience. And 46,599 having a great experience at Globe Life Park tonight. We've seen the hometown Rangers take a 3-2 lead into the bottom of the 7th inning. Looking for more. The sellout crowd tonight, the third at Globe Life Park this year. Elvis Andrus will start things off here in the Rangers 7th. Elvis 1 for 3, a double, a run scored, and an RBI. That all back in the first inning. And Kuroda making the first pitch low and outside for ball 1. Into the wind goes the right-hander, and Elvis takes the strike. Elvis now hitting at .268 currently. Two and one. We got David Huff and Adam Warren throwing Huff the left-hander in that Yankee bullpen. Two balls and a strike. Now 2-2. And in the Ranger bullpen, Neil Cox. And we have seen Neil a lot lately. He's been the workhorse out there. 2-2 pitch. Popped up on the right side. Brendan Ryan, the second baseman, had to go back now, come on, and makes the catch for out number 1. Now before Daniel Robertson comes up, let's take time for a Mazda game break once again. Here's Dana Larson. Dana. All right, Dana, thank you. Daniel Robertson, who took over for the injured Alex Rios, takes outside. Robertson, a strikeout, the first time that he came to the plate back in the 5th inning. In case you missed the earlier action, Rios hit in the quad back in the 3rd inning. Pitch from Kuroda. Apparently that's right, swelled up on him, stiffened up on Alex, so he was removed from the game at that point. And Daniel Robertson getting the fill-in assignment out there in right field. Nine hits, and most that rookie Kuroda has allowed against the Rangers in a game. 1-2 to Robertson. Daniel back in the box. Kuroda to the line. 2-2. Daniel, since joining the ball club back at the end of April, he's got 85 at bats. He's seen a pretty good amount of usage. It's come in streaks, depending on the health situation of some of the Rangers. Going the other way, that's down the right field line. It's slicing and foul. Trying for extra bases in the corner and didn't miss by much. Daniel coming back to home plate, though. Daniel, one of the guys that spending a lot of time before ball games, especially working with Tim Bogart, Ron Washington, trying to improve his infield skills too. He's very versatile. He's got great speed. And Ron Washington and Tim Bogart trying to help him out to get a few more reps on the infield.
Well, you know, if that's the kind of thing that he can learn how to do, play some second base, it just makes him more valuable. Guy that can play the outfield. If he can also play second base, he runs well, becomes a more versatile guy. And managers with only 4 extra men like their extra men to be as versatile as possible. Joe Girardi just checking with Kuroda. Wanted to hear him say, "I'm okay." Kuroda looked at him and said, "I'm okay." That's all Joe needed to hear.
Now let's take a look at tonight's AT&T fan photo selection of the evening. It's from Wendy. Nice shot at a Globe Live Park. We appreciate that, Wendy. A good looking photo that you sent us. And if you folks would like to tweet your photos, just hashtag Southwest Fan Photo, and we will select one for every ball game that we have on Fox Sports Southwest this year. And again, we appreciate the folks at AT&T making all of that possible. Beltre is 2 for 3 tonight. A pair of singles, an RBI. He has scored a run. Takes a strike from Kuroda. Good fastball down and away. 1-1. 324. The average for the Ranger third baseman.
Kuroda popped that ball at 94 miles an hour. That's his best velocity fastball of the day, and also had some great movement on it.
That two-seam variety fastball looked like down and in.
He was toughened up since the first inning, boy. He just had 3 runs on 5 hits in the first inning.
Jeter charging and on the run, throws Beltre out. That'll do it. Rangers gone in order, and we have finished 7 innings here at Globe Life Park. It's the Rangers 3 and the Yankees 2 on Fox Sports Southwest.
Of the game. You're not going to believe this. Former Ranger Pete Incaviglia's daughter Renee is having a couple showers here, and she is getting married when?
October 12th.
And who stepped up to the plate?
Robert Leone.
And he's right there. Okay, what did Dad say? What did Dad say about this?
He's still working on it.
Still working on it. It's tough to convince Inky. Okay. Well, congratulations. Here's the shirt. Very good. Still working on it. You got a chance, though. You got a chance. Way to go. Fan of the game. Thanks, Renee.
Boy, I remember back when she was just born as a little baby.
Yeah.
And he's just working at it. Inky will come around. I think.
You think? Neil Cox now taking over for Colby Lewis after 7 very strong innings, the longest outing of the year for Colby.
That was an excellent outing for Colby. No doubt about it. What did he retire? The last 3, 6, 9, last 13 batters he retired.
So Cox on now to face the top of the Yankee order. Brett Gardner, 1 for 3, takes outside for ball 1. Gardner led the game off with his 4th leadoff home run of the year. That's his 14th overall. 1 for 5 against Neil Cox. Check, swing, strike. 1-1. Next pitch from Cox. 1-2. That quick cutter or slider, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Neil's got that. When he has that going, he usually racks up a few strikeouts from left-handed hitters. Tried it again. That one just off the outside corner. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Rangers have out-hit the Yankees tonight, 9-4. Yankees have not had a base runner since the 3rd inning. Got him swinging. Gardner asking if that was high, and it was. He ripped on through it, and Cox gets his first strikeout.
Gardner homered in his first at bat. $46,599, and they'll be about double or triple that in a few years. And say, I was there for the last game that Derek Jeter played at Globe Life Park. Padres fans still remaining standing. 1-1. Now our Coors Light Cold Hard Fact for Derek Jeter, brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. 2,635 career games at shortstop. That's the most appearances at any single fielding position in baseball history, and without having played another position. He's going to have to hop around a little bit as he chopped one down off his front foot. Jeter, as mentioned in a pregame, you get an idea of where that ball, there's no protection there. Oh. Jeter in his 20th year in pinstripes. He has surpassed the franchise record that was set by Mariano Rivera in 19 years. We're going back to 1900 as far as the franchise history of the Yankees. 1-2 as Cox comes back. Out of play. You look at the guys that were kind of the backbone of all those championship seasons that the Yankees have had recently. Obviously, it starts with Derek Jeter and Mariano Rivera. That's pretty amazing. Most games. But you also have Jorge Posada, Bernie Williams, both of those guys. They all came up at about the same time.
Yep.
And a starter, a reliever, a center fielder, and a shortstop.
Now 2-2. And the crowd still standing, and all the smartphones out, making records of this last at bat by Derek Jeter, or presumably the last at bat. Unless something crazy happened in this game. 2-2 the count. Cox to the plate. Sawed him off, and Aaron Seavey, the first baseman, makes the catch. Jeter 0 for 4, and it's a nice round of applause headed back to the Yankee dugout. No, 2 gone here in the 8th inning. And Jacoby Ellsbury, who had the solo home run in the 3rd inning, will step to the plate. Ellsbury with the 9th home run of the year. Also has flied out and grounded out tonight.
You can tell that a lot of people came to see Jeter, and after that at bat, a lot of people are getting up and leaving.
Ellsbury at 279, 48 runs driven home. One of the big off-season acquisitions, the free agent signed by the Yankees. Only had to move about 200 miles down the coast from Boston, where he had played with the Red Sox. Think the fans in Boston will ever stop feeling betrayed by Ellsbury going to the Yankees?
No, he's not the first one that has had that happen to him. Johnny Damon switched teams.
That bunt's going to go foul. And Beltre making sure it stays foul. 1-2.
Roger Clemens.
Yep.
Pitched for both teams.
Roger Clemens did. Yep.
Wade Boggs. Been a lot of guys.
Doesn't seem like guys have gone from New York to Boston.
No,
it's
most
always
of
been
them
from Boston to New York.
Yeah.
Ellsbury getting ready to step back in the box. 1-2 with 2 outs. Neil Kotz facing him. Rangers leading 3-2 here in the top of the 8th inning. And that evens the count. Ellsbury 0 for 4 in last night's game. He's been on a bit of a downturn. He has just 2 for his last 25. Kotz set, the 2-2 pitch. High and tight. The count is full now, and if Ellsbury is able to extend this 8th inning against Kotz, switch hitting first baseman Mark Teixeira will be next. Chirinos wants a couple of shakes of the head from Neil Kotz. Now he sets down one. Payoff pitch to left field. Adducey near the wall and makes the catch, bouncing off the padding and hanging on. A couple of skipped heartbeats, but Ellsbury gone. Yankees out in order. 7.5 in the books. Rangers by 1.
over the Yankees as we head into the bottom of the 8th. Dana Larson here reminding you we will, of course, have Rangers Live presented by Esurance coming up right after the game. Join me and Mark McLemore as we talk about a great pitching performance by Colby Lewis. We will hear from him and the skipper, Ron Washington, as well. We'll also have highlights and reaction from Derek Holland, who made his first rehab start in Frisco tonight. So join us for all of that and much more coming up right after the game. Buzz, back to you.
All right, Dana, thank you. Now we head to the bottom of the 8th inning. Rangers coming to bat, and they will face a new pitcher as Kuroda is finished for the evening. It's left-hander David Huff. And before we tell you about David Huff, how about our Jimmy John's freaky fast delivery of the night? And it was in the first inning. Elvis Andrus got things started very fast with that double. That's made it 1-0. Then Adrian Beltre came back to put the Rangers ahead 2-1. Leonis Martin dropping one in down the left field line, and just like that, Jimmy John's freaky fast 3-run delivery in the first, and the Rangers have made that stand up.
David Huff in his 17th game for the Yankees, pitching very well for him. 2-0, nice ERA at 2. A few too many walks, but pretty good strikeouts. Had some opportunities in his career to be a starting pitcher. Working out of the Yankee bullpen now, though.
Jim Adduci leading things off. Adduci is 2 for 3 tonight. And he grounds one sharply, but right at the second baseman, Ryan. One gone. And let's go down the field. Emily Jones is down there, Em.
Well, guys, we perhaps just saw the last at-bat of Derek Jeter in Globe Life Park, and he's had a long enough career to have seen the good and the bad, experienced, I should say, the good and the bad of playoff baseball here.
We've had some battles here in the postseason. There's been a few of them, so those are the things that stand out the most. Whether it's earlier in my career or a few years ago when we were playing here in the playoffs, we played some tough Texas teams, and on the way to the World Series, we had to go through some Texas teams, and there was a team in particular that stopped us on our quest to go. So, the playoffs is probably what I remember the most.
And I've got to tell the story that Shin Soo Choo told me today, which there have got to be a dozen of these, that when he was a rookie in Cleveland, he got a base hit and wanted to get on second just so he could talk to Jeter, but he was so nervous he couldn't do it. His English wasn't very good, and he was very intimidated by Derek Jeter. And he said as soon as he got over there, Derek came over, said hello, introduced himself, said, "Way to go, nice hit," and he said it meant the world to him. And as I mentioned, there's got to be a ton of stories running around baseball just like that one.
Yeah, you're right, Em. Almost everybody you talk to, you listen to a guy like Michael Young was up here talking about that same thing. It's just quite a man. He's been a great ambassador, a great representative for baseball, and I'm sure he will continue to be, no matter what he does after he gets through playing. J.P. Arancibia draws the walk. He is aboard with one out, and Leonis Martin will come up.
I think every young player that comes into baseball looks forward to meeting a lot of the veteran star players, at least talking to them. And when you get that opportunity, it's almost like at that point in time you feel like you are a major league player. When one of those players knows your name and knows who you are, and when they're as gracious as Jeter to come up and be the one to initiate the conversation, that makes it even better.
Nephew Feliz loosening in the Ranger bullpen. We anticipate seeing him in the top of the 9th inning. That was Martin taking outside for ball 1. Pitch runner Adam Rosales on to take over for Arancibia. No doubt will stay in the game to play defensively at first. Martin 1 for 2 tonight. He has singled, walked, and grounded out. And Huff goes first base way with a toss to drive Rosales back. Martin at 263, 5 home runs. Drove in his 29th run back in the first inning. And a 2-out single to left field. David Huff came over from the San Francisco Giants and really had fallen out of favor with the Giants. He was basically purchased by the Yankees from San Francisco, and Trying to find a spot for him. 16 outings with the Giants. He had a 630 earned run average. He's going to get a visit from Francisco Cervelli. And this has been the biggest problem in the command of the strike zone. I think that's probably a universal truth when you see a guy that's struggling. It's generally the command of the strike zone, being able to cut the strike zone up, keep it out of the middle of the plate, and yet throw strikes. Left-hander is set for the 2-0 pitch. That's out of play down the left side. Two and one to Martin. Now 2-2. Dillon is checking with Gary Pettis down at third. And Rosales stepping off his lead at first. One out in the bottom of the 8th inning. And Huff will drive Rosales back. Before the season began, went from the Yankees to the Giants. He's been sold back and forth this year. Jeter to second. The return will not be in time, but it's a pretty nifty play by Jeter and Ryan to get the lead runner, Rosales.
It wasn't hit very hard. Took a little tough hop on Jeter. They got the lead runner. Ryan's got some quick hands.
Folks, the Rangers continue their replica jersey giveaway on Friday, August the 22nd. The first 15,000 fans 14 and older attending the game with the Royals in town will receive a Nolan Ryan replica jersey. Sponsored by Dr. Pepper and Tom Thumb Food and Pharmacy. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com. Two away. Here's Robinson Chirinos, and again, Huff going to work this time on Leonis Martin at first. Chirinos 1 for 3 tonight. Singled his last time up. Robinson's been scuffling a bit offensively of late. Maybe starting to turn things around with that base hit tonight. Takes inside for ball 1. Huff staring in for the signs, a left-hander. Finally settles on one. And the 1-0 pitch is coming. A ball and a strike after the foul ball. The Rangers leading 3-2 with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 8th. You look forward to the 9th inning. Teixeira, Beltran, and Headley. One of the first 3 Yankees that will come up. And the score stays at 3-2, presumably against Neftali Feliz. And they've got Martin picked off. The throw, the tag, not in time. Throw by Teixeira, enough on the inside of the baseline that Brendan Ryan couldn't make the catch and apply the tag in time. And Leonis Martin in with a stolen base.
That's one of those plays where it shows it's more difficult play for a first baseman who's right-handed than it is for someone who's left-handed. More difficult throw. Yankees are checking the replay, but it looked like he was safe.
Yep.
When he came off the base, it looked like there was part of his body touching the base at all times.
And Joe Girardi gives a signal out there to Derek Jeter. Go ahead, we're not going to challenge. It was the right call. That foot on the bag very quickly, and you said, Tom, I think the hand got there just before the leg came off the bag. No, the stolen base for Leonis Martin. He is in scoring position now. The count is 1-1 to Chirinos. Huff to the plate. The pitch fouled out of play. Rangers tonight 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position. Last night they had a whole bunch of runners in scoring position. They went 4 for 17. That's the most at bats with runners in scoring position since back in May against Detroit at 18, May 24th. The 1-2 pitch. We'll try it again. The Rangers got off to a good start tonight. 2 for 5 with runners in scoring position in that first inning. But since then, you can do the math, they're 0 for 6. Martin stepping off his lead from second. In the dirt. Cervelli, a nice job of blocking that pitch. 2-2 now. Huff conferring with Cervelli. Hiroki Kuroda, in the 7 innings that he worked tonight, gave up 9 hits, 3 earned runs, and a walk and 4 strikeouts. But after that first inning, he was extremely good. He gave up 3 runs on 5 hits to the Rangers in the first. In the last 6 innings, he shut them out on just 4 hits. Huff's 2-2 pitch. Martin going to third. The pitch is popped up. It's going to reach the seats. Over to take a look to Shera, but it's back a couple of rows. And we'll come back and try it again. Cervelli and Huff again meeting about halfway between the mound and home plate. The bespectacled Huff back up on top of the rubber, and he goes to the stretch. Inside, 3-2. If Chirinos can keep this inning alive, Rougned Odor will get another opportunity to come to the plate. Huff sets a check of second. Payoff pitch. Outside, ball 4. Second walk of the inning issued by Huff. And now Odor will get one more opportunity.
The second baseman, Rougned Odor.
Rangers would love to add a run right here. This might be a little cushion to work with. Yankee outfield playing very shallow.
Odor, faced Huff twice before. He has gotten singles both times against the left-hander.
They saw the ball that Rubnet hit in Houston that time into the second deck there. They might not play quite so shallow.
You're right. You're right. First pitch to him is high for ball one. I'm not sure I've ever seen an outfield play this shallow against anybody in this ballpark.
That looks like where they would play with a game on the line with less than 2 outs and a man on third base.
Yeah, you're right. One ball, no strikes. It is a fair ball, and Odor is going to be tagged out as he stands there at home plate. Well, Cervelli able to bounce out and make the catch and the tag. And Ron Washington's going to come out, but just to protect Odor, that's not a reviewable play as to whether it was a fair or foul ball this side of the base umpire. Well, the Rangers are gone. They strand a couple. 9th inning coming up. Rangers by 1. Is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find Southwest Airlines fares online only at southwest.com. By AT&T UVerse TV. Find out what's possible with AT&T. Call 1-800-PIC-ATT, mobilizing your world. And by your Texas Ford dealer, the Ford Summer Spectacular Sales Event. Now playing at a Ford dealer near you. In the 9th inning, and Neftali Feliz on to see if he can't capture the save here tonight. This is his third appearance as the closer.
Neffy, as we've mentioned, each time he's pitched, he's not the same guy right now anyway. He has to depend a little bit more on finesse, a little bit more with his off-speed pitches, has to have good command. Doesn't have the 96-mile-an-hour fastball right now. So he's trying to make do and do it in a little bit different way right now. The only thing that matters is the results, especially as a closer.
Yeah, bottom line, 3 outs.
Get him out.
3 outs before they tie the game up. Now he will face Mark Teixeira to start things off. The Rangers will go into an overshift with Teixeira, the switch hitter, up there from the left side. Teixeira tonight 0 for 2 with a walk. Feliz doing a little groundskeeping work right there in front of the pitching rubber. Now he's ready to take the sign from Robinson Chirinos. First pitch of the 9th inning is a strike on the outside corner. Now Colby Lewis in line to get his 7th win of the year. He had 7 innings of very good work tonight. Longest outing of the year for Colby.
I think some people thought that his last start in New York was one of his better starts, and today he might have upped that one just a little bit. May have had his best start of the season tonight.
The only damage to him was a pair of solo home runs. There's no shame in that, believe me. That's especially to a couple of left-handed hitters like Gardner and Ellsbury. Teixeira gone on strikes.
Well, that fastball registered at 92, but it didn't look like 92. It looked like 96.
Let's go and check in with Emily Jones. Em?
Well, guys, it is time to remind you, courtesy of AT&T Uverse, about the next Rangers telecast. It will be Friday on TXA 21. We get things going at 6 o'clock as the Rangers open a 3-game set against the Cleveland Indians, the first stop on a 3-city, 9-game road trip, fellas.
All right, Em, we thank you. That's one of a pair of 3-city swings the Rangers have left. First ball swinging, Beltran pops up, and Elvis Andrus back behind Adrian Beltre to capture it. And the Yankees now down to their final out, and Chase Headley coming up. Well, so far for Neftali Feliz, 4 pitches, 4 strikes, and 2 outs. Tough to do much better than that. Ron Washington hoping to see his club win its first series in a month. Headley 0 for 2 with a walk. 0-1. Feliz, a belt high set, and misses high. 1 ball, 1 strike. Derek Jeter talking with Joe Girardi. Captain in his last appearance here at Globe Life Park as a player. Line drive up the ladder goes Rosales, and that is a winner.
He had some hang time on that one.
He did, didn't he? Adam Rosales skying to bring down the rebound. And he got it done. So did Neftali Feliz. A 7-pitch save in the 9th for Neftali Feliz. He sends the Yankees down in order. And the Rangers win 2 out of 3 against New York. Colby Lewis gets his 7th win of the year in 15 decisions. The Rangers snapped that streak of winning the first game and losing after that in a series. They defeat the Yankees in the first game and last game of this 3-game series. Tonight it was a 3-2 score.
Well, he had 2 gears. He jumped and then got a little higher.
Adam Rosales, who came in as a pinch runner in the bottom of the 8th, he gets the endorsement of Neftali Feliz, saying, yeah, that's a way to get up there. And Ron Washington and Tim Bogar able to do the post-game handshake and hug, and the Rangers defeat the Yankees here tonight.